Hi, everybody, and welcome to the fourth episode of ParcelCast. My name is Justin Cramer, and I'll be your host today. With me today is Ryan Kirklewski, Chief Operating Officer of Accelogix. Ryan, could you give us a bit of history about yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Justin. I appreciate you guys having me on. I've been with Accelogix now about 7 years. Prior to that, I spent 9 years at Red Prairie Software, which Red Prairie was well known for developing one of the top tier warehouse management solutions. So I spent 2 years in product development on the warehouse management system, and then I spent 7 years doing WMS implementations around the US and a little bit in Europe. And then, like I said, for the last 7 years, I've been at Accelogix, where I've helped grow our WMS consulting practice and seen the growth of that team over the last 7 years.
So what you're saying is you've just entered the industry and you have no experience.
Exactly right. Yeah, I kind of fell into supply chain, accidentally, I guess you could say. I was a computer science major, fell into supply chain, and have spent my whole career doing this for the last 15 years. And honestly, it's a great space to be in, especially for those who love technology. It's an industry being upended by technology constantly. So even though I accidentally fell into it, I don't think I could have picked a better industry to be in.
Yeah, it is a great industry with a lot of change right now. A lot of everybody is finding new ways to do things, and I think that rolls right into our topic today, which is software-driven automation. So at your company, you guys do a lot of different automation. Can you talk to me a little bit about what software automation might mean to the industry and what it means to Accelogix?
Yeah, sure. So automation, obviously automation has a big role when it comes to supply chain distribution. You think of, traditional automation, everything from, conveyors and sorters to automated storage and retrieval systems. And now these days with, autonomous vehicles and robots, so that it's had a big role in supply chain for a long time. It's continuing to evolve. We see automation a little bit differently, and we look at it from a more software-driven approach. And so what we refer to as software-driven automation is the idea that the automation solutions that are out there, the ones that I just mentioned before, work best when they work together. So being able to use those solutions collaboratively with each other, because all those systems have to talk to each other, right? There's integrations that go in when you're putting in automation and it communicates to your WMS or to the other systems. But they all really work kind of in a silo, right? They're going to do what those systems need to do kind of individually. So we look at software-driven automation as a way to bring together all your solutions, all your automation solutions, your systems, and your people that are working in your operation, and using software to really optimize the work across all those solutions and all those people you have in your operation.
Interesting, because a lot of our audience, I think, when you say automation to them, they probably think of just one side or the other. Not that there are three sides there. They think about the physical. They think about conveyors and sorters and things of that nature. Maybe robotics. They think about maybe software automation within their WMS, as you mentioned. But I don't think they think about combining those two with the people.
And that is the kind of unique part, and from our standpoint is, these operations still have people in them that are doing the work, and they're the whole idea of a total lights out warehouse where everything is being done by machine is it's not really coming to full fruition. So even in the most heavily automated facilities, there's still people involved in those operations, and most operations that use automation still have a good amount of people in those operations. So if you can get those automation solutions to work, more in harmony with the people that are also working around those automation solutions in the operation, you're not really driving true efficiency. Otherwise, you're having automation solutions, say bringing product out for people before the people are ready for them, or vice versa. You might have, people waiting around for product to come out of an automation solution, and it's just wasted time. And so if you can better coordinate or better orchestrate all the work between the people and all the different automation systems and solutions, you drive much more efficiency that way.
I think what you're saying is, it sounds to me, having also had plenty of time in this industry, we have connectivity. between components, but we don't actually have automation. Would that be an accurate and fair assessment?
I think you could put it that way. I mean, certainly connectivity. I mean, all these systems obviously talk to each other. They have to, so that the other systems know what the one system is doing. But it's the working together piece that I think is really missing. So I mean, what you would define, what you might define as automation, is different depending on who you ask, right? To us, it's really about orchestration. It's about taking the automation solutions, maybe that's conveyors, maybe that's robots, whatever that might be, and your people and your systems. So a warehouse management system, maybe a warehouse control or warehouse execution system, a labor system, a parcel shipping solution, all of those different systems, all of those different automation solutions and your people, and making it all really work as one solution.
Yeah, I really can't get the thought out of my mind that there's really a bunch of bottlenecks that we end up creating over time around, let's say, in our area, we make the shipping software significantly faster. But what that might actually do is really just push that bottleneck further down this downstream. And now you've got packages collecting with no personnel. And it sounds like a true software-driven automation helps bring in that labor part as well to prevent those packages from filling up a conveyor and gridlocking.
Yeah, I mean, when you bring up a good example, and the whole point of this is to prevent bottlenecks, prevent gridlock, and so that the work is flowing. We use the term flow control. It's all about how you're controlling the flow of the work throughout the operation. Because even within one workflow, let's just say a picking workflow, a picking and packing workflow, those to do the pick and the pack, all of the different steps that are required might mean you're using different people or different automation solutions, and there's a handoff. And if you're not controlling the flow of that work properly, you create these bottlenecks, you create these inefficiencies, and you really slow down your operation. So if you're not, again, if one of those, one of your systems could be lightning fast, and the solutions and the people around it can't keep up. So the speed of that one solution isn't actually doing you any good. It's really the orchestration of those solutions together with the people, with the process, that drive the efficiency. So, speed is a component to it. Certainly you want your systems to be fast and responsive, but if the flow of that work is not controlled properly and not metered properly, you really lose a lot when it comes to optimization and efficiency.
Agreed. Let's move on to software-driven optimization topic. So having talked with you a little bit before about what this type of software does, the fact that it can do virtual put walls, pick put walls, workflow, all of these different things. Let's start to break down a little bit about this type of software. How is it different from whether it be a physical put wall or some of the voice-based solutions that are out in the market?
Yeah, so the solutions that are out there, especially the physical automation solutions, right? Those are very static, right? If you put in a put wall, right, you have to scope out, how many locations do you need in that put wall? Maybe you size it to match your peak volumes, which maybe you have that for 3 months a year, and then the other 9 months of that year you don't need that, all those locations, but you have to build the put wall physically to allow for that peak. And so you have to make a lot of assumptions when you're doing this kind of traditional physical automation. And not that there isn't a place for physical automation still, but it's all in how you really size and scope it. And so if you have the option to virtualize some of these same types of solutions and leverage the technologies that are still out there, like voice, but also include things like computer vision and augmented reality, you have the ability to provide the same type of capabilities to operations to do things like pick walls and put walls and all those types of solutions that are out there, but do it in a way that uses technology that's not bolted to the floor and allows you to get the same output. So with a pair of smart glasses and some barcodes on your locations, on your racking, you can give a user the experience of a put wall through a pair of smart glasses with augmented reality where they can see the lights that you would normally see on the racking, but you're not running wires and running lights and giving and locking yourself into a fixed number of locations. So it, our whole goal with using software for driving optimization automation is to give operations a lot of flexibility in how they optimize and how they automate their process without having to lock them into one way of doing things.
So if I understand correctly, I could even use stackable bins as long as I could put a target barcode on them. I can use those stackable bins and use different sizes and basically on a routine basis or during a peak, completely change my put walls, my pick walls, things of that nature.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It really, all of those solutions that I referred to before that are virtualized, that the ones that, or at least the ones that we've developed internally, those are all driven based on essentially barcodes, right? So you can reconfigure as you need just by moving barcodes around. So if you wanted to do it, you have full racking or, to your point, some stackable bins. I mean, if we have a website for LogistiVIEW. If you go on there and you can see some of the demos that we do, some of those are just done in our office, where you can see just with simple, bins or racking in our office, we can reconfigure different put and pick solutions really on the fly. And so it's all about flexibility and all about it's about putting the power back into the hands of the operation to say, what do I need to really get the job done? How does the system enable me to do the job and to do it optimally versus versus the system hindering you to be able to do your job optimally?
So if I were to change a physical put to light, pick to light, it might take me, a day per station. It might take me a week per, large rack. How long would it take for me if I know I've got a different type of kitting solution that I have to do? I've got, I want to specifically prepare for peak, so I've got my temporary workers versus my seasoned workers. How long would it take for me to make changes? And can you kind of give me a range? Because I'm assuming if I'm making a small change, I'm replacing 2 small bins with 1 large bin. That's a different effort level than if I've got a couple of new racks that I've gotten from a restaurant supply store or something like that, and I'm adding them to my pick put process. What kind of a range am I looking at in time necessary to make those changes?
Yeah, I mean, to make changes to these virtual solutions, I mean, it really is, how long does it take you to, kind of move some barcodes around and then maybe do some quick configuration in the system. So, I mean, typically, you're going to be spending a fraction of the time making these changes to or make these adjustments to your current operation, because again, all we're doing in this case is we're moving around barcodes, and we're going to go in and make some small configuration changes to the system to match those updated barcode locations, but you're not running any wires, you're not installing or moving around lights. It's you're talking about a fraction of the time to make those changes.
So I don't need to get the electricians involved and the
Right.
conveyor people involved and all that. I can just physically move some small things around that wouldn't require that type of external resources, and then just configure it in-house? Or is that something that they would come to someone like you to do that configuration?
No, that's all configuration that they can absolutely do in-house, right? If you're qualified enough to put a barcode, on a location, you're qualified to do this. And it's we want to allow these operations to be able to do what they need to do, really on their own, without having you don't want to call a consultant every time you want to make a change. You want to be able to own your own operation and own the way you do the work. So yeah, this is all stuff that can absolutely be done in-house by the operation.
And when we look at the bigger picture, I mean, there are a lot of solutions that have attempted this in the past, and right now we've probably got WS, WCS components out there. But would you say this is a different category than the current warehouse execution software that's out there?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely. I think we're kind of treading some new ground here. I used the word flow control before, right? It's really for us, it's all about that. It's the flow control of the work, because what we're doing, I think that's different than what has traditionally been done, is not just incorporating the systems and making the systems work together, but it's involving the people component of this as well. So what a WES or WCS or WMS do, that it does parts of this, or what the automation solutions do, it does parts of this, but really, what those solutions do, those are almost some of the tools to get the job done. What really has not been there is the one system that lays on top of all of them and looks down and says, how do these things need to work together, right? That a WCS has it's the things that it does, and automation solutions have the things that they do, but those are really done in a vacuum, right? They're done in a silo for those systems. And so how do you ensure that when the automation solution is doing something that has an impact on the WCS system, that has an impact on a worker on the floor, that we're taking into account all of those things to really direct the movements of the workers and direct the activities of the system, so that we're ensuring full optimization of our operation.
So it sounds like we all know that for a successful logistics operation, you have to have a pretty large enterprise software stack. You've got an ERP, warehouse management, you've got the conveyor management, you've got multi-carrier shipping software, you've got all of these things. It sounds like it's possible with a product like this to replace all of those interfaces and just provide one unified user interface for the labor, for the people that are actually in the warehouse. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think I would totally agree with you on that. The operations these days seem to, on average, have a lot more types of solutions involved, and solutions are becoming more specialized. And you named a number of them right there. And so, because solutions have become more specialized, operations are using more systems in their operation that have to work together. And in some cases, that means users in those operations have to log into different systems, and to do this task, they have to log into this system, and to do that task, they log into that system. And it becomes a training nightmare, becomes an efficiency concern, and that there's risks to quality and performance as well. And so if we can not only orchestrate the work efficiently and optimally across all these systems, but also give the users a single interface, a single application to also efficiently and easily complete the work, right? Then I think you really got something there, right? Because now we're not only orchestrating the work, but we're making it easier for the users to complete the work.
Yeah, that's definitely something we've found in the warehouse, is that often the terms in the warehouse are dictated by the system of record, usually the warehouse management system, unless the ERP, maybe SAP or something, has been extended out in the warehouse. And all of the ancillary pieces of software either have to be configurable enough to accept those terms to provide uniformity, or there is training issues with personnel in that warehouse. And that actually kind of brings us to our next chapter, which is labor. We all know that in 2019, labor was one of the primary conversations that was happening around the logistics industry. It was very difficult to maintain personnel. There was a lot of poaching within within areas of the country where a lot of warehouses were concentrated, and that meant that a lot of time was spent onboarding labor. Okay, I guess the question that everybody would ask is, well, if I'm bringing new labor on, how long is it going to take to onboard them? And most importantly, can I process more order lines in less time using software like this?
Yeah, I mean, labor is a huge component to any operation. Your top two costs in a warehouse operation are going to be your inventory followed by your labor. And so when operations are looking at how do they squeeze more out of their operations, how do they reduce costs, how do they increase efficiencies without increasing costs, right? They're looking to see, can they do more with less or do more with the same as far as labor goes, their warehouse labor. And You mentioned a big part of that is the training and the onboarding, especially if you have like a temp workforce for seasonality increases. But also just the ability to do the job efficiently, right? If you're an operation that has, multiple systems and users have to know, well, I need what system to log into for what job, you're making it harder for these operators to be able to do their job well. And I think sometimes that also leads to just a dissatisfaction with, with the job in general. And then you're at risk for losing talented people. So yeah, really for us, I think one of the benefits of this solution is the ability to easily onboard users by making the task execution as simple as possible, right? So again, when it comes to efficiency, there's the orchestrating of the work efficiently, but then there's also the let the user do the work efficiently. I mean, I've been part of a number of implementations of systems where, a big complaint is from users on the floor where they'll say, what used to take me, 30 seconds to do a task, now with all these extra button clicks and other things, it takes me 3 times as long. And it's slowing me down, and it's hard to learn when you're onboarding new customers. And so for us, it's all about ease of use of the task execution. And so with LogistiVIEW, for example, right, we're giving operations the ability to build workflows with task instructions and task execution with a number of different tools available to them. So you can deliver tasks to users through, text, through images, through video, through voice, augmented reality, and then allowing users to complete those tasks in a number of different ways as well, using things like, it could be anything from Bluetooth ring scanners to computer vision to voice to gesture control. Even you can give a system a thumbs up to confirm a pick. So it's all about ease of use for these systems to allow the workers to work efficiently.
If it's that easy to use, that mean, because let's face it, once you've trained somebody to pick, once you've trained somebody to pack in QA, once you've trained somebody to do receiving, sometimes it's there's another investment you have to make to cross-train them in order to shift them wherever the bottleneck is. It sounds to me like this type of a solution makes it easier for me to general purpose people into the warehouse and allow them to do multiple things depending upon where the need is for that shift, for that line item types that are coming through that day, so on and so forth. Is that kind of what you're seeing? And do you have any examples that basically shows how simple it would be to bring somebody up to speed or move somebody from one job task to another?
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right that the ability to use your labor force to be able to do different types of activities and not just really lock them into one type of activity. I mean, that presents a great opportunity for operations to do more with the labor that they have. And yeah, we actually, a great example, a large global 3PL that's currently using LogistiVIEW, when we were demoing I think it was a picking workflow for them before they started using it, and they wanted to, first obviously understand how the users interacted with the system, and then understand how easy it was to adjust the workflow, and then how easy it was for someone to pick up just using the system. As a test, they pulled one of their workers out of one of their office clerks out onto the warehouse floor, and this is someone, she had never worked on a warehouse floor before. She was an office worker, and they wanted to have her try picking some orders on a pair of smart glasses. And so they basically took her out on the floor and they gave her a pair of smart glasses. They told her to put them on, and they said, we just want you to do what the system tells you to do, right? They gave her no instructions, and they said, just do what the system tells you to do. And the system walked her through a series of picks, and she completed it with no issues. And when you're doing warehouse when you're doing warehouse tasks and you're measuring the labor efficiency, there's something called a labor standard. And the labor standard is basically just how long should it take you to do a certain task.
How well did she do at the labor standard?
Yeah, she was on her first time, she did it to 80% the standard. on her second time, and 100% means you did it exactly on the goal time. So 80% means she was 80% to her goal time, and so they had her go again. And the second batch of picks she hit at 100% of standard, meaning she hit. This is someone who's never picked before. She hit exactly the goal time with no training, and so they had her do one more batch of picks, and she actually did it 120% to standard, meaning she did it quicker than the system had given her as a goal time. So this is someone who had never worked on a warehouse floor, was given no instructions in what to do, was just put a pair of smart glasses on and told to follow the instructions. And so I think that just goes to show you the ease of use of the system and how quickly you can onboard somebody. And think of somebody who's used to working in a warehouse operation, and suddenly you're asking them to do other things in the warehouse. They're that much further ahead and ready to take on those tasks with very simple instructions.
So it sounds like from the execution standpoint, this is a really simple system to execute. We talked a little bit earlier about reconfiguring things. What type of knowledge do I need? Is this something where do I need a dedicated IT person? Can I do this with a super user or maybe as a well-educated manager? Is this something I can do? Is there a lot of code involved, or is this more of a low code, no code solution?
Yeah, I love the low code, no code phrase, and that's exactly what this is. So LogistiVIEW, our solution, everything is done and really configured through our workflow engine. And really what that is the ability to just workflow out all the different tasks that LogistiVIEW is going to be, having your users complete. So maybe you have a replenishment workflow or a pick workflow or a packing workflow, or some combination of those. Basically anything that can be workflowed out can be designed in LogistiVIEW. And if you're familiar with Visio, you're pretty much familiar with the LogistiVIEW workflow editor. It is a drag and drop workflow editor that gives you essentially a toolbox of tasks and decision points to build your workflows. So again, if you've seen Visio, you know exactly what what the workflow editor looks like. So it does not require a computer science degree. It does not require technical IT resources. Again, it all goes back to really putting the power back into the hands of the operation to be able to operate the way that they need to.
So it sounds like I can create a whole tree of decision diamonds, a decision tree, if you will, which even allows me to ensure that those rare value add that I may have to do, particular inserts that I might have to do, or if I'm a 3PL, unique things within an individual customer, that these can all be drag and dropped in, like you said, a Visio style solution.
Right. Yeah. I mean, 3PLs are a great example of that, where they've got to do a lot of different things based on the customer, right? Maybe different value-added services or just different ways of processing orders. But as customer demands are constantly evolving, and businesses and companies are offering more specialized services in the product that they ship. All that means is that these operations are going to have to be able to adjust quickly to be able to do things differently or do new things. And the ability to be able to make those changes without having to go in and rewrite a system or write all kinds of system modifications and basically do it through simple drag and drop configuration is extremely powerful and is a big opportunity for these companies to really get an advantage when it comes to just kind of standing apart from their competitors.
Sounds like there's a lot more flexibility than we would expect in an MHE, in a warehouse management program or anything like that. Well, let's take a minute here and let's actually, we've been talking about the category of software. Let's talk about LogistiVIEW itself. Can you give me a little background on Accelogix, LogistiVIEW, and how you see all that fitting in the market right now?
Yeah, Accelogix was started in 2012. Seth Patton, who's our CEO, also the founder, and in 2014, if I have my dates right, he had the idea for LogistiVIEW, and LogistiVIEW is certainly something that's, I think, evolved quickly over time to be something that I think the industry is now waking up to the fact that it really needs this whole idea of software-driven automation, software-driven optimization. we have a website, LogistiVIEW.com, about the solution. And if you go there, you see a lot of stuff around people doing, augmented reality and vision picking and put walls. And in fact, we even have a case study with a men's retailer, Peter Millar, where they're using virtual put walls. And I think that's a lot of times people look at, that's the easy thing to see and recognize, someone wearing a pair of smart glasses. But like I said, for us, it's all about, smart glasses and augmented reality and vision and voice and all those things. Those are tools to be able to build a better and more efficient operation and better workflows. And so for us, really, what Accelogix, our background has been in supply chain distribution, WMS systems, labor systems, parcel shipping solutions, automation systems. So that's really what our is in our DNA, is supply chain distribution. We're also technologists at heart, and so being able to bring to the market a technology solution that is really unique in its kind, to drive efficiency in a way that this industry hasn't seen, is really exciting for us. And so LogistiVIEW, like I said, is really evolved over the last few years into being all about optimization, automation, and allowing companies to have more flexibility in how they operate, so you're not locked into what your traditional systems can do, right? There's a place for all those traditional systems and those traditional automation solutions. This is about making them work smarter.
So Ryan, let's talk about some of the questions that our listeners might have. I'm assuming the stuff on your website, that's top of the line. I mean, all of us in the logistics industry, we want to show the best we can do, the most integrated we can do. Do I need to buy all that stuff? Do I need augmented reality glasses? Do I need Bluetooth ring scanners? Can I get away with just a standard portable data terminal that I might have on my forklift, or that I might have in belt pouches for my crew? Can I start there?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, I think, another one of the beauties of this approach is it allows you to really step into it, at your own comfort level. When if you're buying a traditional fixed automation solution, you kind of jump from start right to the finish, right? You're all in right away. There isn't a whole lot of easing into it, right? For us, what we see is a lot of customers starting to use the LogistiVIEW solution for a certain task, a certain thing, and then they really grow into it. So, you might have something like a Peter Millar, where right away they're using it for a virtual put wall, but now they're using it to run essentially their whole warehouse operation. I mean, we have companies that have used it just for data capture, where they've had data gaps. We have companies that are using it for one or two workflows to start in their operation, and then it grows. And they might be using it not always on smart glasses. A lot of times maybe it's like, to your point, it's on a traditional handheld. Maybe it's on a tablet. We have one company that uses it. They have smartphones. They have old jailbroken iPhone smartphones on the user's arms with a paired Bluetooth scanner. So it's again, this is all about giving you options and how you operate. The solution, the whole idea of the flow control and the task optimization, that's there regardless of how your users are being told the instructions and completing the tasks. So, if you want to go full blown, augmented reality for everything with, confirm, vision picking and gesture control and all kinds of stuff, you can absolutely do that, and you can build the path to get there. And there's some companies that say, smart glasses aren't for us. We want just the flow control. And in some cases, LogistiVIEW is used purely as the task flow control system only. And customers don't even necessarily use it as a user interface. So it's all about flexibility, but at the end of the day, it's all about optimization.
And a lot of ROI is around cost. So I'd like to use an example that our audience can understand. Can we kind of compare to something a lot of our customers might be out there doing? They might be preparing to buy a new physical put wall. Using your software, how favorably or unfavorably would that compare to the cost of a new pick to light, put to light pick wall?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to obviously give firm numbers without, because when you're putting in a physical piece of automation like that, right, it can really, those numbers can get really large the bigger the put wall. But when you're looking at, let's say you're looking at doing a virtual put wall, right, your cost becomes the software cost, which is done by by user. It's all SaaS based, and it's user based. So basically, how many users you're going to have using the system at any given time. And then it's really just configuring those workflows, right? Which, if I like to compare it to, like, if you're doing a warehouse management system implementation, or if you're doing an automation system, there's still the integration to the other systems, where you're talking about several months typically. And if it's really complex, you can go into the years time frame. When you're doing something like a virtualized solution, you're going to measure this typically in terms of weeks and months versus months and years. And so it's you're looking at a significant reduction in the time to implement, a big reduction in the overall cost, both of solution and any potential services. And then there's just the ongoing benefit of it as well, right? How much are you able to do in-house, where you don't have to bring in outside consultants, and you don't have to maybe hire additional staff that you don't have. So from there's certainly a cost reduction when you're going like a virtualized type solution, and your time to value is significantly shorter as well, as you can get into these solutions a lot quicker.
So I can scale up from a relatively low cost, somewhere around maybe a small put wall or less, and then really see more and more value without ever having to invest as much in as complicated pieces of hardware. Would that be an accurate assessment?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you started with, say, a small put wall, and then you decide, hey, we're really going to scale this thing out, and we're going to add more put walls, or we're going to add more workflows and LogistiVIEW, then your cost becomes just, do you need any additional hardware? And maybe you already have that hardware because you're already using, the devices you're using already work, and then possibly just additional license if you're going to put more users on the system. But if you're already trained in how to build your own workflows, and you're already trained in how to make those changes, then your cost is significantly reduced.
Excellent, excellent. So is there really anything that you guys see in the market that competes with you? I mean, it sounds to me, and again, we've both mentioned our experience in the industry. It doesn't seem to me like there's a whole lot of equivalent competition that can start from just doing a virtual put wall, virtual pick wall, something of that nature, and then scale all the way up to making sure that my personnel go to a conveyor hospital lane because there's been we've run out of ribbon or something in a printer applicator. Is there anything that really is out there like this right now?
Nothing exactly like LogistiVIEW. There are components and pieces of what LogistiVIEW can do, like, say, vision picking, where there are other companies that are out there that are doing those parts of it. And there are solutions that will automate the movement of robots, in an operation, but they don't really take into account the human workers that are out there as well. So there are solutions that do very small parts of this, but from a holistic, flow control standpoint to, the whole idea of the workflow engine and the ability to use LogistiVIEW to really account for, or to really execute any workflow that's in your operation, there is nothing out there like this solution. So, I think what we've got here is something that's new to the industry, and I think we've had to spend the last few years kind of educating the industry on what it is we're really trying to do here with the solution. Certainly, podcasts like this are a way for us to continue to do that. And I think when I was at Modex this past year, before when we were still allowed to go places, it was interesting because it was the first time that I really saw people come into the booth already understanding what it was we were trying to do, right? We had spent the last few years really educating the market, and now people are getting it, right? It's not just about vision picking, and it's not just about, robots, and it's not just about smart glasses or anything. It's really about thinking about how you optimize your operation in a different way, but in a way that allows you to really own the how in how you optimize, not just be locked into what one system dictates for you.
Excellent. So we're glad to be able to help educate at least our audience on this new category of software. But Ryan, let me open the floor here for you for a second. Everybody listens to the ParcelCast because they're in the logistics world. They've got a lot of stresses every year, and of course, as we all know, this year has had more stresses than most. Do you have any final advice for our listeners around what you might want to be looking at, what they should be looking at in 2021 and beyond?
Yeah, I think if 2020 has taught us anything, it's that operations have to be adaptable, and they have to be able to pivot quickly, because things change, and the unexpected can really kind of throw a wrench into your plans. And so we've had so many customers and companies in 2020 talk to us about what can they do to better adapt the next time something like a pandemic happens, or there's a major disruption to their business, or they have to overnight change the way they're doing things. And a lot of times people they throw the word automation out there and they say, well, if I just had automation, right, this would all be better. This would all be a lot easier. And then we talk to companies that have invested in just automation solutions, and they're not seeing the ROI that they'd hope to see. And really, it's because they haven't holistically optimized their operation and given themselves a platform to build on to make adjustments. So, what I would tell people is, as you go into 2021 and beyond, take a look at your operation and think about how easy is it for you to pivot when there's massive changes or massive disruption to your business. If you need to do things very differently tomorrow than you do today, how would you do that? Do the systems and the technology that you have invested in give you the ability to do that, or do they hinder your ability to do that? And if they're hindering your ability to do that, then I think it's worth taking a look and saying, what do I need to do to change what I currently have to give myself a better platform for change in the future?
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, I understand exactly what you're saying. A lot of our customers at the beginning of the pandemic, they had started being able to ship from store, but very few of them had actually completed it to a point where they could take advantage of converting their stores to dark stores, or basically temporary warehouses, providing both curbside pickup as well as being able to reclassify their personnel as warehouse workers, and thus essential workers in many states. So yeah, that flexibility, I'm going to double down on that and agree with you there. Most companies are not as flexible as they thought they were a year ago. So that flexibility can really help regardless of what happens, including a spike in new business as we come out of the pandemic.
Yeah, and your whole point about the stores, I mean, I think this year's been interesting because people are looking at retail stores very differently now. They're almost like satellite warehouses, and they're even I think companies are looking at their stores a little bit differently and saying, these are almost like little warehouses closer to where our customers are, right? But and if customers aren't able to come to the store, or maybe after the pandemic they don't want to come into the store because they're just the way the consumers are. How do we make use of those stores, right?
It's a great opportunity to provide low-cost next-day shipping or pickup because you've got that forward deployed inventory. And I could talk about that for days, but I'll leave that for another ParcelCast.
Right. I throw another plug out there from a LogistiVIEW standpoint that one of the use cases that we see is in-store usage with a solution like LogistiVIEW, because of everything from treating the inventory, like you said, it's that's inventory ready to get shipped to your customers. Being able to give your workers in the store the ability to essentially pick orders, whether that's grocery or retail or whatever. I mean, we do curbside pickup for our groceries in our house. We've been doing it for 2 years, and so many more people do it now, obviously with COVID, that these grocery stores they're getting crushed trying to keep up with the orders. So if you can even use something like a LogistiVIEW to build better picking workflows for in-store pickup, I think there's great opportunity there. And actually one of our other use cases for LogistiVIEW is what we call LogistiVIEW on-site, which is it's powered by Zoom, but it's the ability to have virtual collaboration through a pair of smart glasses. So if you want, you could do everything from on-site training remotely to a virtual shopping experience where, the user at a Best Buy store is wearing a pair of smart glasses and talking to the customer at home and virtually shopping with them. So all kinds of ways for customers or for companies to innovate in their stores in the coming years.
Nice. That's really thinking. I mean, we always say think outside the box, but I think people just want to think one process outside of that box, not and they leave the other processes. In this example, warehouse versus stores, grocery versus standard retail. They try to keep those in their own boxes. So really thinking across all of those disciplines, across all of those boxes, if you will, is something that can really help people going forward.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, Ryan, I'd like to thank you for joining us today. For my audience, I've been speaking with Ryan Kirklewski, the Chief Operating Officer of Accelogix, about his product and the features and ways in which you can use it. Thank you all for joining us today. For those of you who will be joining us next month in January, we will have Mark Taylor from Invista discussing his expertise in carrier rate divergences. Thank you all for attending, and hope to hear from you again next month. Thank you, everybody.